This is live from my office, a special edition to help you. Help you, help me. You know, David Hochberg joins me now, my old friend David Hochberg. How are you, by the way?
I am tremendously, outstandingly awesome, Steve. Thanks for asking.
See, I've tried to give you a slogan for years, and you haven't picked it up and ran with it, but I just tell people all the time, all you want to do is save folks some money. You just get up in the morning, you just want to save people some money. Is that wrong?
No, it's not wrong. Or just help them understand where they're at and answer their questions. I mean, it is unbelievable. I've been doing it 20 and a half years. August will be 21 years. Like I'm 3.5 years old. Almost 21 years. And it still amazes me that the vacuum of knowledge that's not out there where people, listeners could go to get honest, trustworthy information is frightening, because the crap on the internet that people Google and then they call me. I'm like, where'd you get that? Well, I Googled it. I'm like, for the love of God. I mean,
well, you're the different version of a doctor, right? The doctor that went to medical school and is trying to help me, and I come in because I looked at WebMD and I've got all the answers.
Right. Well, WebMD says this, Dr. Most, and he's like, Steve, shut up.
Right.
Here's what you're going to do, right? I mean,
but I don't understand people now. There's this notion that because you have internet, you don't need experts in your life. You know,
oh my God,
it makes me crazy.
That should be. I love what Dr. Most is on, right? And that should be like, hey, Doc, here's what people say on the internet that they should do. Is this right or wrong? And then just have them go, that's the most dumbest thing I've ever heard. That that would be awesome. That should be a whole nother subsection of the show that you do with Dr. Most. What's the dumbest thing that you've heard people say that they should do that puts them at the most risk, that is absolutely not what should the medical profession recommend?
Right. And I always tell people too, I go, when you get on a plane, you don't knock on the cockpit door and go, I'll tell you what, I'll take it from here, Bob. Take the rest of the afternoon off. So why do people know more than you or know more than Dr. Most? Why not just go, I need an expert. I'm going to hire an expert, and they're going to save me money, which is the whole point of this.
Which is the whole point. And listen, if I had $1 for everybody I spoke with that I gave information to and didn't do a loan for, I'd be on a boat having somebody make me scrambled eggs and a margarita.
Yeah,
right?
You wouldn't be taking this call.
Right? Yeah, Steve who? Right? It would be,
right.
You'd probably, you'd probably be making me the eggs, not the margarita. Because you look great in really tight white shorts.
Don't I ever?
Right. And I guess every pair of white shorts on both of us are tight for our weight challenge reasons. But, I can't explain it, Steve. I love helping people. I love giving the information. Before you call, I talked to a guy up in Rockford that owns a piece of property he's trying to unload, and I gave him a bunch of information, how to set it up. He's like, wow, I've owned real estate for the past 35 years. I didn't know that. I'm like, yeah, well, just that's what you're supposed to do. The way you're trying to do it, what he was trying to do is completely backwards, right? He was trying to pull on a door that said push to open, and I'm just like, no, you don't want to do it that way. Go in this direction, do this. And he's like, well, thanks. What do I owe you? I'm like, just you owe me three referrals. That's it, right? Just tell your friends, family, coworkers, and neighbors that what they hear on the radio is true, and maybe we'll help out all three, and maybe one of them will do a loan with us down the road.
Well, I've told people forever that I've used you on multiple occasions, and I mean that in a professional way. My sister has done.
Thank you for clarifying that. Thank you for. I was sweating there for a little bit. I'm like, where's it going?
My sister, I think, has done 3 loans with you guys now.
Your daughter?
My daughter's done 2. And my son and your former protege, Ross Cochran, he just did his first house, he and Lauren. So, point being, if I'm going to tell my family to do business with you in the most important financial transactions of their lives, then, I must be telling you the truth when I tell you this is the guy. All right, so let me hit you with a couple of news stories here. One of which is not so much news, it's anecdotal, it's proven multiple times every single day. Is it a volume problem that every house is now selling over list? Is that why this is happening?
Yeah, it's kind of like the perfect storm. You have record low interest rates. You have a a decrease in building since the collapse in '07, '08. Remember that horrific event back in the
Of
day
course.
when their houses. So there really hasn't been major building in the volume way that was done prior to the collapse in '07, '08. And you have millennials getting into the markets that had never bought homes before at this young of an age. Okay, and that's been a cataclysmic shift as well. So you have those three factors going into play here, and also the ability of the experienced homeowners to get out to go into another home, right? Or the first time home
Right.
buyers now can make a little bit of money to move up into a bigger or larger home. And you have the other thing is you've got the migration out of the city due to the social unrest over the past 16 months.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Okay, March 15th of last year, what happened? COVID hit, everything stopped. We all thought we were going to die. Okay, nobody knew what was going to happen. We have people in cruise ships off our coast that can't get unloaded because we just don't know what's happening. All right, so it was a complete shell shock freak out. Everybody stayed in their homes. Okay, what did that cause people to do? They either got fat and gained 15, 20 pounds like I did, or they bought Pelotons, got into great shapes. Peloton stock shot up, and they looked around their homes to see everything that they hated about their homes and started shopping like crazy on Amazon and pushed out home goods. If you want to buy a piece of furniture now, it's 16 to 30 weeks if you're lucky. My wife ordered a couch for her new home on Black Friday after Thanksgiving. All right, we got it 3-4 weeks ago.
Come on, for real?
Delivered in April. For real. Yeah, it was sitting on the freaking floor. Yeah, it got delivered in April. We moved in the house in March, and the couch that she ordered paid for in November got delivered in April. We bought a kitchen table which was in stock. The chairs will be in September.
No
okay,
kidding.
So it's bananas. So what did people do while they were at home? They started working from home. So here's another factor that people aren't thinking about. You're working from home. You could work anywhere now. You don't need to schlep into the city. Okay? I've had friends. I had 4 of my friends, Steve, here in the North Shore, that in November, December, they were all remote learning. Got a Airbnb, whatever, the VRB down in Florida. Rented a house in
Florida. Yeah, VRBO.
Yeah, VRBO, whatever the hell it is, right? So they're renting a house in Florida, right? Enjoying the 80-degree weather while we're getting blasted with 12 inches of snow, all right? And they're like, this is crazy. What the hell do I have to live in Chicago for? I can remote work down here in Florida.
Right.
Like, go to school down here in Florida, all right? And I don't need the Michigas up in Illinois with the taxes and the politics and all that nonsense. They put a guy in Northbrook down the street from me put his home up 2 blocks from me, sold his home in 3 days. Okay, he's like, I'm out of here. I saw the sign. I drove by his house. I saw a moving truck. I'm like, hey bud, good luck. He's like, I'm done. He's like, I'm out of here. 4 girls, wife, dog, down in Florida. So that's putting the pressure on, is that you've got the social unrest pushing people out because they got tired of being cooped up in their condo. Okay, they wanted some green space in the backyard. The people that bought our home, my wife and our home that we sold to go in the new home, we're living off of State Street with a 2-year-old and a newborn and a dog. State Street, where everything was going down with all the craziness.
Sure, of course.
Right outside their door, they're like, we're out of here. Bought our home in Northbrook, sold it. We sold, Amy Kite sold my home in 4 days. Okay, at ask price.
Right.
So you've got all of these different variables going on. People migrating out of the city. Rents in the city are at record lows. Okay, over adjusted for inflation. They're not dropping the rents, but they're giving you 3 free months. So that's how they're discounting it, right?
Right.
They're your rent at $1,200 a month or whatever it is, but they're giving it 15 or 16 or 17 month leases because they don't want to go to the marketplace and say, yeah, we dropped it to $800 a month. They'd rather keep it at 12 and give you 4 free months worth of rent.
Which is real cash.
Which is real cash. So all of these factors are going into play, and then you've got our listeners out there working from home. They can work from anywhere. That's why the summer homes started going crazy. Homes in Wisconsin on lakes started going crazy. Boats started going crazy because people had to get out and they wanted to be outside and safe. So go in the middle of a lake and do your thing. So you've got all of these different forces that were impacting it. And the biggest problem is there hasn't been a large push of new home builds over the past 12 to 15 years. And that's just a fact. And that's what's causing all of those 5 factors rolling together. Low interest rates, the millennials buying homes, working from home, people wanting more space, migration out. All of that stuff, Steve, is just putting a crush on the market. And anybody that's got a home on the market that's in decent shape, that's reasonably priced. And what realtors are doing now are putting these realtors are geniuses. They're putting a $300,000 home on the market for like $295, right? Because they know it's going to start a feeding frenzy. All right, it's like throwing chum in the water.
Right. So they're $295. The $300 for the value is probably going to sell at what? $305, $310.
What are you nuts? It's going to sell at $325 to $350.
There you go.
Okay. Well, what's happening is those same 7, 8 people have lost that are searching every single day. They've got their Zillow alerts up and their Realtor.com alerts up, and their realtor sending them stuff. Right? They've been through everything. Right? They're bringing each other like donuts while they wait in line to go look at the house because you could only go in 15-minute blocks. Right? Maybe with the COVID lift with the masks off, more people go through house at the same time, but. You know, the past 15 months, you had to schedule a time in 15-minute blocks. There's been 7, 8 people at some open houses, and what's happening is they're putting in escalator clauses. So you go in at $300, and you'll go up $5,000 increases up to $350. Okay, so that's what an escalator clause that it automatically escalates a certain predetermined amount of money that you set up with the realtor up to a cap that you're willing to go into. All right, so now these homes are going for $340 that are listed for $300, and you can buy a home for $340, but it might appraise at $300 because you need closed sales in order to catch up to the values. So it's causing a little bit of a cash crunch because you could still buy. I'll give you a hypothetical example. You're going to go buy a $300,000 home, and you've got 20% down. You've got 60 G's. Okay, so the financing is based upon the purchase price or the appraised value, whichever is less, the lesser of the purchase price or appraised value. Okay, so on a $300,000 home in a normalized market, you sign a contract for $300,000. You've got $60,000 to put down as a down payment. You're going to run with a $240,000 mortgage without any private mortgage insurance.
Right.
No problem. Simple math, right? 300, 20%, 40, 60 grand, 240 mortgage, no PMI. Now you still have the 60 grand to put down. You're buying that $300,000 home for $350 because that's where it is. The challenge is there hasn't been any closed sales to support the $350 until you sell and buy that home, until that home sells and it's in the books at $350, right? Once there's a closed sale at $350, then your home is worth $350. Challenge is you only have $60,000 to put down, okay? So now what you're doing is you've got a cash crunch. It's going to be the purchase price or appraised value, whichever's less. So now the financing is going to be based upon $300,000. So now you've gone from putting 20% down to maybe putting 3% down, right? So now you've only got 3% of a $300,000 loan is $9,000, which you could get into a home for 3% down. and then the other $50,000 is going to go to make up the difference because your home's not going to appraise for $350. It's going to appraise for $300.
So you're playing catch up.
You're going to play catch up. Okay, so your neighbors are going to be ecstatic, and they're going to be bringing you casseroles because you just set the bar at $350. And I'm not making these numbers up. This is what we're facing every day.
Right.
Now, where's the money coming from? People have money; they're getting gifts now, right? Or they have to run with, and that person just went from putting 20% down with no PMI to putting 3% down and running with PMI. So there's an extra cost of carrying that house.
Sure.
Because there's a PMI factor. And some of the listeners, Steve, have the financial resources to do it, and others unfortunately don't. And so next up is going to get the house. It's just a factor. Now, once that house closes, the houses in the area are now worth $350,000 because there's a closed sale. Until there's a closed sale, you can't use that as a comparable when doing an appraisal. And everybody's firing on the appraisers. It's not the appraiser's fault. It's the market. It's the market.
So, but if I've got a house and I want to make some money off it now because this is the time to make money off my house, I still got to have a place to live. And this is going on all over the country. So
right.
I get the payoff and I cash out, but now I'm in the pool with the other sharks, aren't I? To find my next place.
Well, there's something called apartment buildings, right, that are more than willing to take you on as a renter. And there are units out there. I've got individuals right now. Listen, for everybody that's having a great run now, there are a large portion out there of your listeners that are struggling, okay? And you know who they are. They've got the $40,000 with the credit card debt, and they're hanging on by their fingernails, and they think they're going to make it, and they're going to get, it's going to come a time where the forbearance is going to end, the student loan forbearance is going to end, the mortgage forbearance and the student loan forbearance are going to end, and they're not going to be able to afford their mortgage payment. And I'm recommending to those folks right now to get out now, right? It kind of goes into what your question is, right? Where are you going to go? All right. Here, number one, if you have equity in your home and you want to get out, sell your damn place and go rent the place.
Right.
Okay? Places to rent. All right. Here, I'll give you for example, my in-laws. Right. Thank God. When I sold my house, I thought we'd be there for 3 months. We had to move in. I didn't think we'd sell our house in 3 days, 4 days. Boom, we got out in August. I thought our house would be done by Halloween. It didn't get done until March. So I'm living in my in-laws' basement, thank God, for 6 months. They were going to put their house on the market right away. Then like, we're not in any rush. And I'm the guy in the industry going, what are you, nuts? Put the damn place on the market. Unload it, right? They tried to sell it 2 years ago, couldn't sell it, right? Because they're in Lincolnshire, Long Grove, $18,000 worth of taxes. Now there's 17 people lined up because they want to get in the Stevenson School District, which is the top 5 in the United States, right? So I go, what are you, crazy? I'm like, dump the freaking house. They're like, well, we want to do new cabinets and we want to do this. I'm like, put the house on the market. They're going to rip out your kitchen and they're going to rip out everything that you think is good because you're in your 70s and you have no idea what people in their 30s want. They're going to knock this wall down, take that cabinet down, move all this crap out, and take your appliances that you think are great, and they're going to blow it out and go to Apt and reload. All right? That's what they're going to do.
Right.
Get it on the market. Oh, no. Realtor comes in, says, I think you should sell your house now, listing it next week, right? David Hochberg, their son-in-law, who's in the industry for almost 21 years, said, dump the house, no go. Some realtor walks in, and they're listing it next Wednesday.
Right, because they know better. So you're the idiot son-in-law with the incredibly successful business, but there's a separation there.
Right, and I'm the LMS. I'm the last man standing. The other two got divorced, and I'm like freaking King Kong. So, that elevates me even higher because I got the only daughter that's not divorced. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. So here. They're like, well, where are we going to go? I'm like, you move in with us until you find a place. They want to go to Del Webb out in Mundelein, right? Great area. They got friends there.
Sure.
And those houses come up and they go quick, but nobody's selling in Del Webb. All right. So I'm like, just dump your house. you had it on the market 2 years ago for like 9 months. You couldn't sell it. You're in the hottest real estate market. You're at the core of the magna here. Dump the freaking property, right? You're like in the center of the volcano. Get rid of it. So they're finally doing that. And individuals like that need to find a place. There are plenty of rental houses out there moving with family until the right place comes up. You offer cash, jump to the front of the list, and you're done. That's what people should do. The other aspect is for those who are in trouble, Steve, and you know there's a ton of people out there that are in trouble, and you know that you're living in a state of denial. As soon as that forbearance gets lifted, and as soon as the student loan forbearance gets lifted, you're going to have a payment of $2,000 to $3,000 a month that you're not going to be able to afford, and then the foreclosure moratorium has been lifted as of June 1st, July 1st. They've raised the foreclosure moratorium, right? No fly zone. That's up in 45 some days. Okay. So what's going to happen is, if you know somebody out there that's struggling, if you know somebody out there that can't make their mortgage payment in the hottest real estate market ever, you need to get them to unload that property now before it goes into foreclosure. Because as soon as it goes into foreclosure, you're going to get $20,000 to $40,000 worth of legal fees added on top of your mortgage, because these banks are no good bastards, and they add all the legal fees on top of the homeowners that are already down. Okay, and you're going to blow up your credit instead of getting out, retrenching, taking the money that you'll make on your home, and renting until you get your feet back on the ground. And that's what it's coming. It is coming. It is coming, and it's going to come hard for those listeners out there, those homeowners that are having economic challenges.
Yeah, get it done. Jump in, because as you said, there's apartment buildings waiting with your name ready to be put on a lease until you find the next place, because you got to, this is a perfect segue to ride it out, because we're heading into a market phase here. Frankly, we're already in the front end of it, which could get very ugly. So talk about the markets for a second, because look, we don't know what's going to happen for sure, but we're pretty sure what goes up always comes down, and we could be headed for an elevator cable break here when it comes to Wall Street, right?
Well, we are. It's not if, it's just when. I mentioned something. We started getting rumblings. My partners have very close friends with money makers on Wall Street that run like multi-billion-dollar hedge funds. Not me, right? And they're like, listen, it's coming. All right, the numbers are leading towards a foreclosure wave, because when 7 million plus homeowners went into forbearance. It's just a fact. Okay, forbearance is when you could defer your mortgage payment. 5 million people have come. 4.5 million homeowners have come out of forbearance. 5 million homeowners have come out of forbearance, started making mortgage payments again. Great, no problem. There's still 2.5 million homeowners in forbearance. Okay, which means they can't make their mortgage payments, still need help. Okay, so what's happening is that the accountants I do business with who are doing people's taxes are telling me, I listened to your show last week when you mentioned this on GN, and you're 100% right. People are extended beyond belief, and they're screwed. And what you predicted is going to happen. I got text messages from bankers during the show saying, you're 100% right, we're seeing the same thing. I told Amy Kite this 3 months ago. I'm like, fasten your seatbelt. We're going to go into some heavy stuff, some turbulence at the end of the year. She's like, are you sure? Are you kidding me? I'm like, I'm telling you, this is what they're predicting. 5 days later, she's on the show. She told me she started getting calls from her short sale attorneys that she hasn't spoken to in about 10 to 12 years.
Right.
And saying, I hope you're ready. It's coming. And then you have the CFPB, the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, which is the FBI of is the protection kind of FBI of the consumer lending world, right? Payday loans, mortgages, banks, credit cards. They sent out a memo to all of their servicers, which are the companies that collect the checks for all the homeowners to process the mortgage payments, basically threatening them with their lives, quote unquote, stating, you better do everything in your power to keep these homeowners in their homes, meaning turn over every stone, flip over every coin to make sure whatever you could do to keep them in their homes, because they don't want a replay of '08 through 2011.
Right.
So all of these different forces, okay? It's like Tom Skilling going, low pressure coming in from here and there and here. It's going to be a hard rain coming up. Thunderstorms, stay out of the rain, right? I'm telling you right now, it's coming. Okay, I'm not trying to scare people. I'm just telling you what people smarter than me and all of the factors are saying is going to happen.
So if you're going to sell your house, sell it now. Don't wait. Get out, and you will adjust as the road carries you forward here. But waiting's the worst idea you could have if you're going to sell it.
If you want to sell it now. If you're having economic challenges, your best play is to sell it, get out of it, pocket the cash, go rent someplace, go live with some family, get retrenched, let this market turn itself around on the economic side, because we still have economic challenges in a lot of different sectors. It's going to take a little bit of time to get caught up. I have full faith in the American consumer and the leaders of our country to turn this thing around, just like I did with the doctors to figure out a vaccine for this, just like I did in '08 when I said the Federal Reserve and Greenspan and the men and women of the Fed will figure this out, right? They are coming out with programs, and we will get through this. It's going to be a rough patch at the end of the year. It's just a fact. And if you're in denial, congratulations, and you haven't made a mortgage payment, here's a challenge, Steve. If you're living in a house in Kane County in a $250,000, $300,000 home, there's a good chance that your real estate tax bill in that $250,000, $300,000 home is about $8,000 to $12,000 a month. Okay, $8,000 to $12,000 a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
$700 to $1,000 a month. Okay. Then you've got your homeowner's insurance of $125 to $150. Right, and you haven't made a mortgage payment. So if the bank comes to you and says, "Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, we see you're having challenges because the CFPB has a shotgun to the back of our head, and we're going to do everything in our power to make sure you could live in this house. Okay, we need a minimum of $850. Okay, we need a minimum of $850 to cover the taxes and the insurance so you could live here. Is that possible?" A majority of those individuals, Steve, can't afford the taxes and the insurance. So how are you going to keep them in the house if they can't afford to pay the basics of the real estate taxes, which are god-awful ridiculous in the state, and the homeowner's insurance to protect the servicer and the investor, God forbid there's a fire, flood, or whatever, okay, or hail damage? They can't. That's the problem.
And something's got to give.
And what's going to give is those people are going to be out on their asses, and they're going to lose their home. So my recommendation, I'm not trying to be a cold-hearted son of a bitch. I'm not trying to scare people. I've been doing this a long time. I've seen a lot of shit in the past almost 21 years. I am telling you, I was a doubter in '07, '08, said, "Oh, it's never going to slow down." I was one of those idiots. "Oh, the bubble, it's all bubble bullshit." I was one of those guys. I'm not one of those guys anymore, okay? I've seen it. It's coming, and it's not going to be good. And thank God we've got 9 people for every lined up to buy every home. Get out now while there's still 9 people lined up to buy every home.
All right, so
okay?
so let's say I'm done. So let's say I am on the other end of this, and I am shopping, and I do find the house. I've talked to you about this for years. One of the reasons my family does business with you is because I know you, we know you can trust. We can trust you. You know you're going to give it to us straight. And we know your reputation. We know your success. But you know this better than anybody. Your business is filled with the worst cliche when it comes to used car salesmen, of people who promise you this and promise you that. And, let me see if I can go back to my manager and see what he says about getting you this or getting you that. Closing costs, bait and switch, this and that. People don't know where to turn. And if they don't know you, this is why I hype your business as much as I do, because I know you're going to get it done for them. But I do feel for people who don't know where to go when the marketing is where the focus is for most of these businesses, not the delivering to the customer.
100% right. Here, I'll give you a perfect example. I had a guy call me up. You know, he hears me on the score. He hears me on GN. He hears all my stuff, and he calls me. And he tells me a scenario. He's like, "Well, I called the other guy." I'm like, "Who?" He's like Ryan Kelly. I'm like, "Oh God, let me go vomit right now." He said, "Okay, don't tell me what Ryan Kelly quoted you, the home loan expert based out of St. Louis, who likes to let people think he lives up here." I go. Here's what I'm going to offer you. Don't even tell me what he's going to offer. Okay. So I give him the quote, right? And he's like, "Well, he's a quarter. You know, he's an eighth of a point low." I go. Okay. What's he charging you in closing costs? I go. My closing costs are $2,400. I just told you what my closing costs are. He's like, "Okay, let me go back." He's flipping through. He's like, $3,500. I'm like, "Okay." I go, "If you want to pay me an extra $1,000 in closing costs, right? I could get you a quarter of a point less and beat that scumbag's rate by an eighth of a point." That's what listeners don't understand. They get so enamored by the rate, but they don't factor in the cost of securing the rate, the total cost of the loan, right? So that listener was ready, before calling me, was seriously considered going with that piece of crap down in St. Louis, Ryan Kelly, okay, who likes to promote how wonderful he is because he quoted a lower rate, but the closing costs were $1,000 more. And if that listener was going to give me $1,000 extra, pay an extra $1,000 in closing costs, I was going to beat Ryan Kelly's rate by an eighth of a point. So everybody, I've been saying this for a long time. It's not about the rate; it's about the monthly payment. It's not
Right.
about the rate, total cost of what it's going to cost you to secure the rate. I go up against Quicken Loans all the time, right? I've got a loan estimate for Quicken Loans of $10,000 in closing costs. I'm like, "Are you out of your mind?" I'm like, "Send it." I've got the PDF on my screen in case they want to come after me. Okay, I've got the PDF for one of their borrowers that I crushed them on, and I had it. And then you got to stop. You got to explain to somebody who doesn't do mortgages every single day what they're trying to do. But when you pull up into a gas station and all you see is Quicken Loans, rocket this, rocket that, rocket this, rocket that, and then you constantly hear this nonsense on the radio. That's why I don't sell rates, right? I sell examples of what we did, and it's not even selling. It's sharing success stories.
Yep.
And sharing stories, and sometimes I share stories of where we couldn't help listeners and what we did to advise them to get themselves better, and how we couldn't help because they waited 6 months too late to call me for help, right? When you have 14 cents in your bank account, the time to call me is not when you have 14 cents in your bank account. It's 6 months prior when you know you're going to forecast out that you're going to have 14 cents in your bank account in 6 months. And you should have called me 6 months ago so I could have gotten you on a path to make sure that we wiped out the debt before you're calling me with 6 late mortgage payments and a foreclosure notice.
Right, because you can't pen and teller your mortgage. There's only so much magic you can pull off. Having said that, now you and I have mutual friends who you have helped because you know the tricks and the tips, all legal, to find a way
Sure.
to get somebody back to financial level ground and level the playing field and move forward. You've done it 1,000 times. But yeah. when it comes to life, people want it easy. I just don't understand why people think doing the biggest financial transaction of their lives over their mobile phone while they're running to Subway is the right way to go. Because, by the way, my experience has been your people make it extremely easy. Find the documents I ask you for, get them to me, a couple of email attachments, a couple of clicks, a couple of phone calls later, and we're underway. This is not something you should do with the biggest financial transaction of your life while you're watching The Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Well, here, can I just use John DeCosta as an example?
Sure,
the only
of course.
reason I'm is because we've talked about this on the radio and on the podcast numerous times. I sat with John at WGN Green Room before I went on your show, and he's like, "Yeah, I'd really like to talk to you." So I talked to him. I set it all up. Then he went in the witness protection program. Okay, he disappeared on me, even though I'd see him in the hallway. And you really can't miss John DeCosta.
No,
if you've ever
no.
Okay, even if he turns sideways, you can't miss him.
No, he's a large boy.
He's kind of an imposing figure. So 5 months later, he calls me back. And I'm like, he's like, I got to talk to him. Like, we already talked to you 5 months ago. You like disappeared on me. What's the problem? All right, I'm gonna bring my wife in. And I just laid it out. I'm like, I don't have time to run after your ass. All right, you're a friend of mine. You're a friend of Steve's. I'm gonna fix you. Okay, if you do what I say you're gonna do, I'm gonna pay off all this debt. You're gonna be perfectly good. Okay, we took him from the mid 500s, paid off all his debt, saved him over close to $3,000 a month. And now he's at the 780s and he doesn't know what to do with himself.
Right.
Okay, so I took a guy who was a complete credit challenge disaster and I get it. It's embarrassing. People don't want to listen. It's like going to your gynecologist, right? I mean, or your proctologist. They've seen it. Okay, it's not like it's nothing like they haven't seen before, right? It's like drop your pants. Let me see what you got. You know, only with me is it's like you don't have to drop your pants. Just tell me. Just give me your social security number, birth date, home address, and where you're born. I'll put you in the system. I'll hit the button, and within 30 seconds, I'll have your credit report. Right? There's no hiding from that.
Right.
Johnny is doing backflips, and if you know Johnny, it's very difficult for Johnny. He could do the back, but the flip is a whole nother story. He is, he would have my baby if I asked him to have my baby.
Oh, there's no question. I've talked to him about it a million times. You took so much stress off his and Jackie's life, they can't even quantify it. And now they're in a beautiful new home that they love. They made a great number on the house that they sold. And this was coming from a point where they were at a 5-something credit rating in underwater.
And getting 0% financing on car leases now and car loans because they're at 780 credit score instead of we jacked them up 200 points. So completely changed their lives, and it was great because we're doing good in the hood, right? I mean, we're just doing good to help John and Jackie and the thousands of other John and Jackies out there. Do we make a little money in every loan? Yes, we make a little bit of money.
That's the business.
That's the business. But you know what? We're not jamming it down your throats to where we're going to retire by doing 8 loans a month. I'd rather do. I think last month we did 187 loans or something like that. And if we make a little bit of money on a lot of loans, that's all I want, right? I mean, that's my business model. Make a little bit of money, keep the margins tight, customer service our clients to death, make sure they understand everything, suffocate them with customer service, get their loans done as fast as humanly possible so they can either get into that house, get out of that house, get into a new home, pay off some debt, lower the payment, shorten the term, whatever the 400 variables there are that we do loans. It's just a feel good, and we make a little bit of money at the same time when we're doing good for your listeners, and we're doing good for, more importantly, the borrower. And there's nothing better. I just opened up a letter. One of my first clients ever. He used to be a firefighter in Des Plaines, and I've refinanced him literally 6 times over the past 20 years. Him and his wife. I don't care for him too much, but his wife's a sweetheart. He's just a pain in the ass, to be honest with you. But his wife is just a sweet lady. He sent me a card. I got a thank you card. Enjoy your gift cards. They are for the team. David and Kelly, for everything. Thank you for the refinance. You guys are the best. Scott and Carrie Williams, right? They sent me 4 $15 gift cards for Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks that they want me to share with my team. I mean, how often does that happen? Does a client send you a
doesn't. It doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Right. I'm like, what the hell are the Williams sending me? And they're such great people. Again, he's a pain in the ass. She's a sweetheart. And, it's nice. And, my team appreciates it. I'm going to give it to my processors. I don't need the $15 gift card, but they'll get a huge kick out of it. And just knowing that the borrower out there that we refinance and save God knows what we did. I don't know if we dropped them into a lower rate or cut their term. And they've sent us like all their kids and all their family and all their friends and other retired firefighters, just good people. That's how we grow a business.
And that's the way it's supposed to work. That's the way it's supposed to work. You take care of somebody, they tell somebody, and then they come to you as well. Now, you mentioned refinancing. It's a big piece of what you do, I know. But how often should you refinance?
All right. So here's the deal. How often should you refinance? You should refinance. I'm a big fan of refinancing our borrowers with a full closing cost credit, right? So rates right now as we speak are in the low 3s, mid to low 3s 4 months ago, they were in the mid to low twos, right? So it's going to be almost impossible to make sense if you start with a 2 today and refinance, right? It's not going to make sense. Even if you want to go into a shorter term, if you're in a
Sure.
30-year fixed starts with a 2, you'd be much better off throwing in a couple of bucks extra every single month, knock it down to a 25, 20, or 15, or a 10 instead of refinancing. Okay, where does it make sense to refinance, and how often should you refinance? Here, I'll give you a perfect example. We refinanced a couple who were severely credit challenged, and the only way we were going to get an 80% cash out refinance is if we did an FHA loan. So we took them out of their conventional 5.5% loan, paid off a bunch of debt, saved them a ton of money, put them into an FHA loan. The thing with the FHA loans is that you're going to have PMI on that mortgage for at least 16 years if it's at 80% loan to value. Okay, if you're at 90% loan to value or greater, you're going to have private mortgage insurance for the whole 30 years. Just a little screw job by FHA a couple of years ago, which is absolutely ridiculous. So in that case, it makes perfect sense. Now their credit scores went from the low 600s to the high 600s, low 700s. Going to get them out of the FHA loan into a conforming loan. Don't have to pay PMI, and we're going to save them $300-400. If you were we did a cash out refinance for a client a couple of months ago at 3.875, right? At the time, we gave them a full closing cost credit, and we just brought them back in the low 3s and gave them a full closing cost credit. So anytime that you could refinance and get a full closing cost credit, what is a full closing cost credit? Your listeners are probably saying. So I could come to Steve Cochran and say, Steve, I give you a full closing cost credit on your transaction at 3.25 or 3.375, depending upon the credit scores and the different transaction. Or I could put you in at 3, and you'd have to pay $2,000, $2,500 in closing costs. And once you figure out increasing your loan amount another $2,500 to cover the costs and getting a lower rate, the differential in the payment is minor. It's going to take X number of years to break even. So when you're working with a professional loan officer who has your best interest in mind, right, at hand, in mind, in hat, whatever you want, whatever statement you want, they'll run the numbers for you so you can make the decision, right? But anytime we could take somebody out of the 5s or 6s, and there's still a lot of listeners, believe it or not, in the 5s or 6s, and put them into something in the mid to low 3s and give them a full closing cost credit, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's a home run. And it's just math, people, and the math never lies.
It's not that deep. It's 1 + 1. It really is just simple math. And we enjoy doing it. So, we'd love to have the opportunity to speak with all of your podcast listeners. And if not them, their friends, family, coworkers, neighbors, and their kids, to see if we could help them. A lot of loans for kids of your listeners. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I always tell people that too. I go, look, your kids have probably reached an age where they don't want you to make their decisions, but they're still going to listen to your advice, even if they don't admit it. So just put the number in front of them. So what's the best thing to do? 855-56-DAVID, I suppose?
Yep, or go to 56david.com. You could also listen to the top-rated real estate show every Saturday mornings from 10 to 1 on WGN, or you could download podcasts of our show at WGNDavid.com. And I appreciate you giving us the opportunity, and thank you in advance for buying me lunch with dessert and a milkshake next Wednesday when I'm in Naperville.
Boy, those white shorts are going to get tighter, aren't they?
Amen, baby.